So, hello everybody. Today, this is number 6 in the 12 Games of Christmas challenge. We will be playing Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. Now, I have to say that I have not played this game since the 80s, and of course not this version of it either. This is the one that is the Jack the Ripper and West End Adventures. Now, they advise you to not start with the Jack the Ripper, but the West End Adventures, which is what we will be doing. So we will just take these out. And we will just... 6th, they are numbered. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th case, 9th case, 10th case, we've got the map, and these are the chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the Jack the Ripper ones, which we're not going to play tonight, so we are going to play, let's take them in order, 7th, 6th, 5th, we'll start with the 5th case, which is called Dr. Goldfire. So a brief look at the rule book, but I think it's actually rules light. Okay, cool. Okay, so the way this works is that you will be using these case books to provide you with information on the case at hand. So this is not going to be probably one of the most visually exciting games, but you know, it is what it is. And I think I've got a list of informants somewhere. I saw that. Yeah, they're here on the back. Okay, so Dr. Goldfire. Monday, September 12th, 1898. We don't have a paper for this. Okay. We joined Wiggins, Holmes and Watson for an evening of relaxation and newspaper reading. It's been an hour since 221 B. Baker Street went as quiet as the Diogenes Club when Holmes leaps out of his seat and heads to his tobacco pouch near the chimney. Mrs. Hudson enters as Holmes is stuffing his pipe. Dr. Watson, there's a gentleman here for you. She hands him the visitor's card. G. Taubman, Goldfire, Watson exclaims. Show him in, please, Mrs. Hudson. A few moments later, a tall and slim man with diaphanous skin is led into the room. His slimness is accented by the cut of his redingote and his tight trousers. He responds to Watson's enthusiasm with a polite nod of his head. Hello, John, he says with a high-pitched voice. I was actually thinking about you yesterday while reading your article on cerebral fever in the Lancet. Your analysis is brilliant, Dr. Goldfire, as is your career, but we were all convinced of that as far back as the university. G. Taubman Goldfire doesn't seem embarrassed by Watson's praise. Quite the opposite. He takes it as his normal due. Holmes, this is Dr. Taubman Goldfire. We attended medical school together, but he's by far the most famous student of our class. We see his name everywhere. I must admit, John, that I also see your name quite frequently since you started your career as Sherlock Holmes' publicist. Taubman Goldfire's voice is rather high-pitched but contained and without emotion. It is also my reason for visiting. I need your help, or rather, should I say, I need Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Holmes, who spent the entire length of the dialogue standing in front of the chimney drawing on his clay pipe, then addresses our guest. I'm Sherlock Holmes, and I would be glad to listen to your request. Holmes invites Taubman Goldfire to be seated in an armchair while Watson takes care of his coat and cane. Once settled, Goldfire observes the room and his gaze stops on us. This is a case which requires great discretion, declares Goldfire. All of the cases I take care of are treated as such, Dr. Goldfire. Mr. Wiggins and his companions, that is us, are a precious help to me, and their assistance has proved to be vital in a number of investigations. Just as you need nurses in your field, I need assistance in mine. Dr. Goldfire accepts Holmes's statement without flinching and then, ignoring us, says, "As you may know, I'm not a general practitioner. I'm specialised in cerebral illnesses and am part of teams in many hospitals around London. My hospital of choice is, however, the Bethlehem Asylum. I've spent my life studying the human mind, and, as John could tell you, my reputation in my domain is equal to yours in matters of criminal affairs, Mr. Holmes. We both deal with sick minds in our respective professions. I deal with so-called criminally insane brains, no matter what their behaviour, while you take care of socially unacceptable behaviours." Taubman Goldfire's voice has taken on the tone of a professor lecturing students. "I've devised a number of procedures allowing me to identify mental troubles in people of normal appearance, a large number even." Dr. Goldfire, I'm not familiar with your theories, and I'd gladly talk with you at length about them, but you said you had an urgent affair of extreme importance. Tell me more, and I'll be able to ask the questions which will allow us to resolve your problem. Dr. Goldfire's face reddens slightly as he takes a deep breath, thus giving himself the time to find a certain serenity once again. "It would seem, Mr. Holmes, that an attempt was made on my life, and I fear that another attempt shall be made soon." "That is sufficiently clear, Doctor. Do you know who could want you dead?" Yes and no. I can give you a list of suspects, and I know that one of them wants me to meet a tragic end." "Can you describe what happened, Doctor?" asks Holmes without moving from his relaxed position. Being single, I dine out at the Carlton most of the time. 2 nights ago, I was leaving the restaurant when a gunshot barely missed me." Okay, so let's start taking some notes here. So today is the Monday the 12th of September. Monday, 12th September. 2 nights ago, that would have been the 10th of September. An attempt on his life outside the Carlton. When a gunshot barely missed me, it was no accident, of that I'm sure. You must believe me. I know that one of them wants to kill me. "How did you come up with your list of suspects?" inquires Holmes. "Using my methods." Dr. Goldfire removes a sheet of paper from the pocket of his coat. "I studied the theory of the subconscious and subjected it to rigorous analysis. I've been able to draw up a series of questions, the answers to which reveal the unconscious thoughts of the interrogated person without them realizing it. From there, it's possible to deduce their future actions." "What a brilliant theory, Taubman," says Watson, his voice full of excitement. "I didn't know you were working on that subject." "With colleagues from the continent, we've been studying the subconscious and its importance in our actions for many years. But we're straying from the topic. No matter how I've managed to compile that list, it definitely contains the one who wants me dead." This last sentence contains an emotion until then absent from Dr. Goldfire's voice. "Doesn't it, Mr. Holmes?" "Yes," Holmes replies somewhat dismissively. "If the man who wants you dead is on that list, then I no longer need you. Could I see it?" Goldfire hands his list to Holmes. "You'll take the case?" "I'll take care of it." "That's all I could ask for." Dr. Goldfire leaps from his seat and turns to Watson. "It's been a pleasure seeing you again, John. I hope we'll have a chance to meet again and talk about the good old days." "I'd love to, Taubman. I'm sure that this business is no more than a terrible misunderstanding, but you can relax now that the case is in Holmes's hands." "I'll try," says Dr. Goldfire. After a brief nod towards Holmes, he leaves the room, still ignoring us. "What do you think of that?" Holmes asks Watson as he retakes his respective seat. This list, Watson, contains the most famous names from the medical field in London. My criminal archives aren't free of doctors. Some of them are even among some of the most brilliant criminal minds one could find in the history of crime. Holmes hands him the list. Watson looks it over and lets out a long whistle, like an overheated kettle, before handing it to us. I don't know, says Wiggins. He seems rather cold and his story is rather unbelievable. The fact that one of these doctors is a murderer in disguise might be no more than the fruit of his imagination. What you've just seen, Wiggins, was a warm Goldfire. Back when we were at the faculty, he talked to no one. It's the first time he's talked to me using my actual name. He used to call me Wharton. I'm not important enough to his eyes for him to use my name correctly, but I think that if someone wants to kill him, you can take his word for it. Very well, gentlemen. I've told you many times that one shouldn't elaborate theories before having solid information. The doctor has given us the beginning of a lead. We should refrain from judging G. Taubman Goldfire before having spoken to these people and followed all of the leads. Let's have a toast to this new client and to the case he's brought us. Holmes goes off to the buffet and brings back a bottle of port, of which he pours a glass for each of us. As we sip our drinks, Holmes gazes out of the window. The fog is rising quickly, my friends. I think we can push back the start of our investigations until tomorrow, Wiggins. Only take one single newspaper. Okay, then I will have to look at the whose date matches the case. Let's see. 16th of September. Nineteenth of September. 30th of September, 18th of October, 11th of November, 13th of September, 10th of September, October the 3rd, September the 1st. Well, 16th, 18th, 10th. So I suppose we take the one from the 10th, because that is actually the day, because the Tuesday the 13th, or is it Tuesday the 13th? That's a good question. Since tomorrow we start, which would be the 13th, we can either take the 10th or the 13th. I'm going to take the 10th. Let's see. It's still Whitechapel though, so we're going to take 13th instead. We've got Dr. Henry Gray from Middlesex Hospital. We've got Dr. Kibilsko, no first name, 46 Tower Street. Dr. Praetorius, Bethlehem, and Sir Charles Hall, St. George's. Okay. Criminal Brain exhibitions at King's College Hospital. Professor Moritz Benedict of Vienna will hold a lecture on the anatomical characteristics of the criminal brain. Professor Benedict will also present his collection of the brains of the greatest criminal of Europe, including the brain of Nikolai Bosch, the child murderer from Bucharest. Professor Benedict's lecture will take place at King's College Hospital. It is open to the public. The admission price of 2 shillings 6 cents and includes a guided tour of the professor's infamous brains. This lecture is supported by the Royal Medical and Chirurgical Society of London. Okay, that might be interesting as well. So that's at the King's College. Professor Benedict. Okay. I think we should just go to the relevant hospitals. King's College would be 71 WC. St. George's is 57 Southwest. Middlesex Hospital is 10 Northwest. And the Bethlehem Asylum is not in the book under hospitals. So I guess we will just check Dr. Praetorius at home. Let's see if we can find him. Praetorius, nope. That is odd. Okay, we will leave this to later. So let's start with Dr. Henry Gray at Middlesex Hospital, 10 Northwest. After having asked many passers-by, we find the laboratory which doubles as an office for Dr. Henry Gray. Inside the room there are bodies, both whole and cut up, of primates of all sorts. The man we suppose is Dr. Gray is leaning on the shoulder of a young man holding a sketch pad. What? He's leaning on the shoulder. Okay. The two are carefully observing a human corpse laid out on the dissection table. The left leg open, revealing its morbid musculature. We wait for Dr. Gray to pull away before questioning him. Dr. Gray? Yes. Could we bother you, despite your packed schedule, to ask you a few questions about one of your colleagues, Dr. Goldfire? Who are you? My name is Wiggins. We're assisting Sherlock Holmes in an investigation at Dr. Goldfire's request. In that case, I'm listening. How long have you known Dr. Goldfire? I met him when I was working at Charing Cross more than 10 years ago. Known him for more than 10 years. Do you consider him a friend? Yeah, I think so, yes. Our relationship is above all else professional. Kind of a friend. What were you doing on Saturday night? I was at home. Dr. Goldfire told us about his recent work on the workings of the subconscious and the detection of killers to be through the analysis of a series of test questions. That's absurd. I can't believe that George Taubman Goldfire has told you this. Just like I do, he believes that psychic issues have an organic origin. You must be mistaken, young man. Interesting. However, sir, he told Sherlock Holmes that he had determined by using this method that one of the 4 doctors on this list wanted to kill him, a list on which your name appears. Dr. Gray's behavior, calm and polite so far, changes entirely upon hearing that last sentence. I wouldn't have said it like this. He turns crimson and his eyes seem to be on the verge of popping out of his head. I'm a doctor, held in high esteem by my peers. That theory is the most stupid thing I've ever heard, and I refuse to believe that it's the work of Dr. Goldfire. I suggest you take your theories and your accusations elsewhere. Good day. Well, he's terribly upset, and he says it wasn't him. Okay. Dr. Gibblesco. "46 Southeast. Let's do 57 Southwest first. That would be Sir Charles Hall. No, Sir Charles isn't here today. It's not like him. He should be already here. Can you give us his address? Yes, he lives on Eaton Terrace at number 44, I believe. Eaton Terrace, 44. You don't know... Do you know Dr. Goldfire? Yes, he comes here from time to time. Have you ever seen him with Sir Charles? Were they friends? Friends? That's odd. I must admit that I've never imagined that Goldfire could have friends. But to answer your question, yes, I've seen them together on many occasions, and while they seemed distant towards each other, there didn't seem to be any animosity between them. Okay, so let's check out Sir Charles Hall's private address. Hall, Sir Charles, 44 SW. Wiggins brings down the heavy brass knocker on Sir Hall's door many times, but no one answers. To our great surprise, when we turn the handle, the door opens. We enter timidly. Sir Charles? Wiggins' voice is weak despite its echo heard through the apparently empty house. The door to his office is cracked open and we enter cautiously. A tragic tableau is laid out for us in the room. He's dead. Oops. Well, he's dead. Dead. Let's take a quick look before calling the police. Sir Charles, at least we assume that that's who he is lying on the floor on his stomach. The right side of his head is bloody and he seems to have been hit with a blunt object. His right hand, of which the middle finger is stained with ink, lies near his head. His left arm is lying along his body. Look, in the fireplace. We discover a half-burned cane. The handle is silver and bears a crest which Wiggins recognises as being the crest of the University of London. An engraving states Promotion 1878. Okay. G. Taubman Goldfire. Wiggins slowly walks to the telephone and calls Scotland Yard. Well, this could be a red herring. Okay. Let's check out Dr. Gibbelsko. .46 southeast. We're sorry to bother you, Doctor, says Wiggins as we sit down in Dr. Gibbelsko's private office. Well, talk, young man. Dr. Gibbelsko is rather rotund, but unlike the usual stereotype, he's far from jovial. He even looks rather severe. What's your relationship with Dr. Goldfire? We're colleagues and we've worked together on occasion. You get along well? I think so, yes. Our approach to medical work is different, but in the eyes of the layman, it's not important. Could you tell us what you were doing on Saturday night? Why are you asking? Dr. Goldfire hired us. He believes his life may be in danger. Did a patient threaten him? No, a colleague. Another doctor? Yes, Goldfire gave us a list of names. He believes one of these people wants to kill him. Your name is on that list. That's absurd. How did he reach that conclusion? He explained to us that he had come up with a series of tests which allows one to detect the subconscious intentions of murderers. I don't claim to understand. Who sent you? Gibbelsko gets up from his chair violently and stares at us with his small eyes. It's not Goldfire. I've never heard so much idiotic trash. Goldfire thought, as I do, that organic diseases are the source of mental illness. Tests. He isn't a mad Austrian. The body is an engine. If all the parts are in good order, it works. If it's not working, then you must look for the cracked piston. You don't stop to wonder if steel has a subconscious. I don't want to contradict you, Doctor. All I know is that Dr. Goldfire reached the conclusion that someone wants to kill him. In that case, gentlemen, I can only see one solution: for him to come and see me as a patient and not as a colleague. Good day, sirs. So this is now the second person who basically refutes the notion that Goldfire would ever entertain the idea of psychoanalysis. He also says that Goldfire would believe that mental illness is caused by physical problems. Okay. So we've heard this twice now. Let's go to King's College, 71 WC, because we do have Professor Benedict. That might explain something. It looks like half of London has come to listen to Professor Benedict and see his collection, declares Wiggins, as we take our place at the end of the waiting list. Professor Benedict's lecture. The queue moves swiftly and we soon step through the auditorium's entrance. Wiggins pays the young lady the price of all of our tickets and we sit down at the back of the packed auditorium. The room holds close to 100 to 200 people, far from Wiggins' exaggerated estimates. The hubbub caused by such a crowd immediately stops when the clock strikes 8 and a robust man comes on to stand in the middle of the stage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Moritz Benedikt from the University of Vienna. I am happy to see so many of you here. Tonight's conference presents an introduction to the comparative anatomy of brains. All of the specimens I'm about to introduce you to have been removed by myself from criminals I've interrogated at length. Most were executed for their crimes, the others died of natural causes. During the professor's speech, 2 young assistants have placed an easel covered in charts near the podium. The professor then launches into a description and detailed comparison of brain areas, criminals or not. We throw a glance at Wiggins and see him head down, chin on his chest, his eyes are closed and he's breathing deeply. Careful to imitate our leader, we also doze off. An elbow jab from Wiggins pulls us out of our short nap at the very moment where a distant clock strikes 10. The speaker is still in the middle of comparing the fishes and the gyri in an enthusiastic way, but he seems to realize the agitation of his public and quickly puts an end to his conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you now wish to examine my brain collection, I'd be happy to show them to you. The curtains open to reveal 3 long tables covered in sealed jars, each containing a brain floating in a yellowish liquid. Please enter the stage from the left and leave by the right in order to see all of the study subjects. Let's try and talk with the professor, says Wiggins. We follow him and end up in front of the professor, proud like a peacock in front of the line of amateurs who walk by in front of his brain collection. That's something you don't see every day. Professor Benedikt, asks Wiggins, can we chat with you for just a moment? Of course, young man, what's the matter? We work for Dr. Goldfire. For George? Well, where is he? Ah, he calls him George. We should have met last night when I arrived in London, but he didn't make it. Goldfire missed appointment with Benedikt. I'm wondering. He should have been here tonight and I don't see him. That's not like him. And also missed the lecture. Very strange. You work for him? Yes. Are you doctors? No. Detectives. Detectives? Why would George need detectives? He believes his life to be in danger. What do you mean, in danger? He suspects someone of wanting to murder him. That's a weird sentence. Murder? I would think I was hearing a joke, except that George doesn't have a sense of humour. Tell me everything. Dr. Goldfire has reason to believe that his life is in danger. He told us that he came up with a psychological test which would allow him to decipher the subconscious of an individual and detect a potential killer. He gave us a list of suspects, all doctors. Wiggins hands the list to Benedikt. That's grotesque, shouts the professor after having looked over the list. Do you know who these men are? They are some of the most respected practitioners in the world of science. A test to decipher the subconscious? Absurd. Who gave you that list? Dr. Goldfire. That's ridiculous. It's not even his handwriting. Yeah, well, I'm beginning to believe that whoever we met isn't the person he said he was. Of course it is, answers Wiggins, perplexed. I hold a regular written correspondence with George, and this isn't his handwriting. Moreover, he'd never proclaim such absurdities to me to be from unconscious motives. This isn't a country doctor, a psychoanalyst, or a charlatan pretending he could cure patients by making them talk endlessly and analyzing their dreams. While these theories are becoming increasingly popular, George knows that all disease has a physical source. I don't know what game you are playing, gentlemen, but I have no wish to be part of it. And before Wiggins can add anything, Professor Benedikt walks away from us in long strides and exits the stage, leaving us with his brain collection. Now, we've heard several times now from different people that Goldfire behaves differently than they remember him. Watson says, when I was at uni with him, he didn't even remember my name. He called me Wurton. He wouldn't even give me the time of day. And now he's basically changed his behavior and he seems to be quite warm. Well, quite warm. 2 people have said that they would never believe. 3 people have now said to us that Goldfire does not believe in psychoanalysis, but that he believes that every mental illness has a physical cause. So this story of I can talk to people, ask them questions, and then find out if they're murderers, they don't buy this at all. That's not him. He's missed 2 appointments, and he's also, and his handwriting isn't his handwriting. So we have been met with an imposter. This person is not Goldfire. And of course, Sir Charles Hall, we couldn't talk to him because he's dead. And also there is no Praetorius. On his list, we have Dr. Praetorius Bethlehem. Where we can, he's not in the directory. But nobody said that they don't know him. Let's see if we find Bethlehem, under B. Bethlehem Lunatic Asylum, 28 SE. So we're going to go there. Okay. Just as we settled down into the chairs lined up along the whitewashed walls of the Bethlehem Asylum's waiting room, a broad-shouldered man wearing a white coat enters and introduces himself as O'Connell. He invites us to follow him to Dr. Praetorius. "Are you here to see a patient?" asks O'Connell as he leads us along the white corridor. "No, just Dr. Praetorius. Do you know Dr. Goldfire?" asks Wiggins in a carefree tone. "Yes, he was here not long ago. He works with old Praetorius." "What do you think of him?" "I'll tell you guys, I've been working here for so long that I can't tell the difference between the patients and the doctors anymore. I wonder if some of these doctors shouldn't be locked up in here. Old Praetorius, there's 278 crazies here. Some believe themselves to be dogs, others lions. We have 3 Napoleons, 6 Wellingtons, and 2 bloody Queen Victorias locked up. At a time when Queen Victoria was actually ruling the country. About hygiene, and what is Praetorius thinking about? About hygiene of the hands. My team is made up of 36 solid fellas to be able to overpower those lunatics, and I need to spend hours each day checking their hands as if they were school children. Praetorius lines them up at the beginning of each shift and then inspects their hands. If they aren't clean, they're sent to the sink. Crazies, doctors, all the same. Arriving in front of Praetorius's office, O'Connell knocks on the door and a tall, lean man opens the door almost immediately. "These gentlemen are here to see you, doctor." "Thank you, you can go." Praetorius closes the door behind us and heads to the desk, limping while motioning for us to follow him. "Where is that bloody cane?" he mutters questioningly to himself before turning his piercing gaze to us. "What can I do for you?" "We work for Dr. Goldfire." "Dr. Goldfire?" "Yes, he's an acquaintance of yours?" "Has been in the team here at Bethlehem for about 5 years now. I've known him for almost 10. Praetorius has not offered us a seat. There aren't any in his office. His desk is an old archivist's desk on which he leans as he talks to us. Before he has time to finish his sentence, the door opens abruptly. "Dr. Praetorius, come quick, sir," shouts O'Connell, overexcited. What's this about?" "It's Dr. Goldfire. He's dead." "Okay, things are heating up now." Praetorius leaves the room with O'Connell and we follow them. The doctor's limp doesn't seem to hinder him as O'Connell leads us through the maze of corridors to a small group gathered in front of an enormous wooden door. "He's in the cold room, sir," says O'Connell to Praetorius while moving aside the curious from the way. Okay, so basically he's making sure that the curious people who are waiting around are removed. Behind the door, the weak light of a light bulb illuminates the frozen air of a large room. Large slabs of meat hang from the ceiling and crates of vegetables are stacked against one wall. Oh, it's a larder. The body of Dr. Goldfire is hanging near a carcass, fine, pale and lifeless. Get him down from there, orders Praetorius. I don't think we should do that. I've sent O'Reilly to fetch the police. We should wait for them. There was a bobby in the street. It shouldn't take too long, says O'Connell, his eyes fixed on the lifeless corpse. Before Praetorius has a chance to answer, the policeman in question enters the room. Bloody hell, he lets out as he enters the cold room. It doesn't take him long to decide that the case is of Scotland Yard's jurisdiction. We're kicked out of the morbid scene and asked to stay put in a waiting room. An hour later, one of the officers enters the room, followed by a young man with pink cheeks and a short man with a rat-like face. Wiggins, what a surprise! Hello, Inspector. Wiggins gives a semi-cynical smile to Lestrade. What can you tell us about Goldfire's death? I'm the one asking questions, Wiggins, and first off, I want to know what you're doing here. Dr. Goldfire retained the services of Mr. Holmes last night. We're assisting him in his investigation. Well, your investigation is over. We found this in his pocket of his jacket. Lestrade hands us a short goodbye letter. I can't look the world in the eye after what I've done. I'd rather put an end to it. I had a bet with Gregson that I'd solve this case before he found the murderer of that small crook Bobby Field. I think I won my pint for tonight. Lestrade turns to his companion. Channing, take their statements and remember that you're the investigator. Wiggins has the habit of forgetting his place. Last point, Wiggins. I better not hear you've been spreading stories about Goldfire's death. It'd be a pleasure to stick you in a hole. Okay. Okay, so... One could take the easy route and say he killed Charles Hall for whatever reason and then killed himself. I wonder if they will do an autopsy. I'm going to talk to Sir Jasper Meeks. He does the autopsies and 38 CE. EC, sorry. The only body I've got right now is Bobby Fields. There isn't much to say about it. He was killed by a blow to the top of his head made by someone behind him and with a blunt object. No trace of a struggle. He was probably attacked by surprise. I know that another body should be arriving soon from Bethlehem Asylum, but I don't have more information. Who is this Bobby Fields? Or Bobby Field? Who is this Bobby Field? Let's check. I mean, also blunt object. He's not in the book. Okay, let's check out what they're doing at the yard, 13 SW. No, Inspector Lestrade isn't here. But Inspector Gregson is. What do you want, Wiggins? Gregson asks us as we enter the office. I hope you're not going to hang around for too long. The inspector seems to be in a good mood today. We only need to be here for a moment, Inspector, says Wiggins as he slumps into the chair facing the desk. The inspector shakes his head. Gregson closes a file and pushes it to the corner of his impeccably tidy desk. Here's a case I won't be losing any sleep over, he says softly. What is that one about? Bobby Field is one of the least reputable characters in London. He's been killed. I saw the article in the police news. He was found in the Thames, isn't that right? True. It was probably revenge. He must have let down someone once too many times. Too much cash, not enough judgment, if you see what I mean. We're rounding up the usual suspects. And now, Wiggins, what brings you here? What do you know about Dr. Goldfire? He's an expert. He advises us from time to time when we catch a true madman. He's an expert in psychopaths. We should go to the Carlton Hotel to see, have they found anything of interest? Did they, did they actually hear anything, see anything? Oh, sorry, it's a club, actually. Carlton Club. 7 Southwest. And they might also have other information on what Goldfire has been up to. The doorman of the Carlton Club has a military bearing worthy of the splendid uniform he wears. Excuse me, says Wiggins. Yes, sir? Do you know Dr. Goldfire? He's a member of the club. Yes, sir, I do know the doctor. He dines here almost every night. Were you here last Saturday night? Yes, sir, I'm here every day except for Sunday from 3 in the afternoon to midnight. We're investigating at Dr. Goldfire's request. He said that an assassination attempt on his person took place here Saturday night. An assassination attempt? Here? How? He said that he was fired upon when leaving here after his meal. Sir, I think he's pulling a prank on you. There has been no gunshot fired in this street for over 10 years. I know how to recognize a gunshot. I fought in India and I've heard the heathens' bullets fly quite often. No, sir, the doctor is lying to you. Okay. First of all, it's highly likely that the person we met is not the doctor after all. Secondly, he has been lying, and we know this. So the question is, why? Does he have a home address? $82 WC. Let's check out his place of residence. "82 Hastings Street is located in one of those neighbourhoods where the uniformity of meticulously clean and ordered buildings erases the idea of British individualism. A heritage from a Teutonic king for a people he never understood or loved, only led. These houses now represent British respectability. The red bricks and whitewashed fronts are the faces behind which hide doctors, lawyers, and prosperous merchants. As an answer to Wiggins' knocks on the door, an old woman comes to open it. She's imposing, the sort of woman usually found on a farm. She greets you with a brief yes. Dr. Goldfire hired us to do some work. The doctor's not in and I don't know when he'll be back. We had an appointment with him, says Wiggins with an innocent look. Could we wait for him here? That's not a problem for me. We follow her inside the house. Wait in there. She points at a pair of large, closed wooden doors. Wiggins slides them open and we enter Dr. Goldfire's private office. The room is so cluttered that it seems smaller than it really is. It looks like a wing of the British Museum, says Wiggins while looking over the contents of the office. There are large tables covered in remaining pieces of skeletons, most of which don't seem human. The warmest touch is a family portrait framed on the desk. It represents a beautiful couple with their 2 sons, as well as a second young woman and a young man with a heavy moustache. Damn, it looks like a younger version of the governess, observes Wiggins as we continue our examination of the room. There is a cabinet filled with jars containing brains, again swimming in clear liquid. Each jar is labelled with a name and date. Would you look at that? It's the brains of some of the most famous murderers of Europe. A catalogue of psychopaths. The Hamburg Ripper, John Carter, the Bristol child slayer, and our old friend, the giant rat of Sumatra. Do you remember him? I'll go take a quick look, says Wiggins after a few minutes. If anyone comes, just say that I've gone off to look for the bathroom. He continues while winking at us. A few minutes later, Wiggins, visibly excited, comes back into the room. You won't believe what I found up there, he says. We climb up the large staircase while hoping no one will ask us the reason for our presence here. Paintings of landscapes or of old couples line the walls. We pause on the landing, impatient for Wiggins to show us what he's discovered. He leads us through a corridor to the right. Everything in this house seems to correspond to the bourgeois chic that one could expect from a renowned doctor. But there's something strange in the attic. Well, it's always in the attic, isn't it? We climb up the narrow stairs to an armoured door held shut by a heavy lock and 2 keyholes. A bell is hanging not very far away. Security here is better than in the Tower of London. Wiggins sticks his eye on each keyhole in succession. We can't see much. He then tries to talk through them. Hello? Hello? Is there anyone there? No answer. Let's go look inside, says Wiggins, his eyes sparkling. We submit counterpoints, but what else could we do? Wiggins tries different keys until the door opens. We go in and make sure the room is void of any occupant. It's a very large room, which apparently is used as a residence by someone. 2 windows held fast by solid iron bars let in the last few rays of summer. Look, the bars have been pried. The iron bars are indeed able to be easily removed, but have been set in order to give an illusion of solidity. One side of the room is used as a bedroom, the other as a study. An old hazelnut desk holds a scattering of books and papers, observations on men, obsessions and phobias, the human mind, and many other books in French and in German. A framed picture lies on the desk near a bronze lamp. We recognize the same family portrait seen earlier in Goldfire's office. What the devil? Roars the governess. I should have never let you out of my sight, you miscreants. Her eyes quickly go over the room. Where is... Out! All of you! You don't even respect the privacy of this house. We have many questions, but the woman's anger doesn't allow us to ask them. She chases us to the door with a broom. Looks like somebody was imprisoned up there, but somebody who's interested in medical stuff. That is interesting, isn't it? So I'm wondering, the person we saw, who introduced himself as Dr. Goldfire, seems to be the same person whose dead body we saw. So either this person has been impersonating Dr. Goldfire for the last 10 years, because we don't know, I mean, Watson is in his 50s, so somebody could have changed. And if the person looks kind of like vaguely similar, male, you know, size is about the same, then, you know, somebody might pull off impersonating Goldfire for 10 years, and now that he needs Holmes, Watson would not be able to tell him apart. Or but he has had a change of heart with regard to what causes mental illnesses. And then there is this person who was locked up who's now run away, obviously, or this is what I think happened. So I'm wondering, does he have a twin brother? That's an interesting question. And what about this Bobby Fields? He was found in the Thames. And also the big question is, what reason does he have to pull off this charade, to hire Sherlock Holmes and pretend that his life is in danger and then take his own life? Let's talk to Porky Shinwell at 52 EC and find out if he knows anything about this Bobby Field, because he seems to pop up and people talk about him, and I have a feeling that this isn't exactly a surprise. 52 EC. We enter the Raven and Rat and we find Porky hunched over the counter. He's attentively reading the day's police news without paying mind to the rare few clients settled in the dark corners of the room. "How's it going, Porky? No trouble?" asks Wiggins as he steps to the bar. "As you see, they're not lining up to come in." Porky makes a wide gesture towards the mostly empty room. "And on top of that, my clients are getting killed. Look at that." He points a finger to an article in the newspaper. "Bobby Fields was one of my best clients, and here somebody goes and kills him." Did we find anything about Bobby Fields? Nope. Oh yes, yesterday, shortly after dawn, a body was found in the dark waters of the Thames under Vauxhall Bridge. The body was fished out by the Thames police after having been reported by a waterman. The man was identified as Bobby Field, has apparently suffered a head trauma. No other information is available for the moment. The investigation is set to begin on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock at the coroner's office at 91 Giltspur Street, EC. Okay, we could also check out the coroner's office. Bobby Fields was one of my best clients, and here somebody goes and kills him. A friend of yours? We were at Parkhurst together, but he kept on using his gifts for burglary, unlike me. Is that how he was killed, during a burglary? No, he was found floating in the Thames. He never worked alone. Maybe it was a disagreement between thieves, Wiggins says. Maybe. Could you make inquiries for me? I owe that to Bobby. Of course, Porky. What could you tell us about him? As I've said, we were at Parkhurst Prison. So, Bobby Fields is a burglar. And he came in the pub every week since I've owned it, when he wasn't behind bars. I won't say we were close friends, but a lot of the tips that I've given him, as well as you as Holmes, came from Bobby. He had just finished a 6-month sentence at Millbank, but still didn't seem ready to go straight yet. I don't really know more. He lived in a family-run flop house a few blocks west of the Liverpool Street train station. We'll try, Wiggins assures him. Thanks. Can I do something for you? Have you heard about a Dr. Goldfire? Dr. Goldfire? No, that doesn't sound familiar. Oh, well, see you around. Parkhurst Prison. Liverpool Street Station. Coroner's Office. (91 EC). Bobby Field? Oh yeah, the guy who was found under Vauxhall. As I said, there isn't an investigation planned about him for today. We'll take care of him tomorrow morning starting at 10. Okay, sounds like a dead end. Liverpool Street Station. (9 EC). Let's see if there's anything there. No. Millbank Prison, that's where he was released from. 23 SW. Maybe somebody visited him there. Director Bones' voice is threatening and he looks at us, so that's prison. As though we were convicts who had escaped from his prison. We wait on the other side of his desk, an old oak desk cluttered with papers, the sign of a man more inclined to working than trying to impress his visitors with expensive and polished wood furniture. Who are you here to get information on? Asks Bones brusquely. Bobby Field, retorts Wiggins in the same tone. What did that vermin do? Asks Bones. While keeping his cold gaze on us, the director, in a vest and short-sleeved shirt, heads to his coat hung on a hook by the door, pulls out a cigar from his pocket and lights it. He was killed. Right in the middle of committing a crime, I suppose. We don't know. Our investigation isn't over. What could you tell us about him? A typical member of the underworld, a jewel thief who knows how to steal, but who isn't intelligent enough to get a good price when reselling the fruit of his crimes, and not inventive enough to change his modus operandi and not get caught. I've got hundreds of Bobby Fields. Did he make friends when he was here? Friends? Men like him don't make friends. At best, they look for men they can use. Millbank isn't a social club, Mr. Wiggins, and I don't run it that way. There are these little old ladies who, after having taken care of the roses in their gardens, turn their attention a few hours a week on the poor population in the prison. If only we could educate them, teach them to drink tea, they would be good citizens. Poppycock! The smoke comes out of Bones's nose and mouth as he draws on his awful cigar. I see what you mean, Wiggins answers prudently. Field was rather quiet, so he did get a few privileges, such as the right to share a cell. His companion, William Bellamy, was a newcomer to the world of crime, a small fish, a coward. He's not able to do much and never puts himself in danger. And he's still here? No, he was freed a week ago. I don't think we'll see him again. He'll live the rest of his life in his own prison, behind his own bars. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work. What? He will live in his own prison behind his own bars? Why? Does he have an address? William Bellamy. This could be a totally wild goose chase, but I'm enjoying myself so far. William, 49 NW. He got out a week ago. Bobby Field is also a jewellery thief. The shaky stairwell leading to Bellamy's attic apartment is situated in a small alleyway. An imposing woman, taller by a good head and heavier by a good 100 pounds than our fearless leader, answers Wiggins' bangs on the door. "What do you want?" she roars. "We want to see William Bellamy," declares Wiggins, using all of the suave charm he's capable of. This is not enough to move this Amazon, but the threats of getting the police involved allow us to gain access to the inside of the room. Bellamy is a timid man. There must be some truth to the proverb about how opposites attract, as it's so difficult to picture these two living together. The woman talks first. Who are you and what do you want? We're friends of Bobby Field. We're looking for information about his death and about a case of missing jewels. We are? I didn't do anything. I don't know anything. Why are you coming here to bother me? I don't care who you might be, shouts the woman. Get out and right away. We realize that we don't have a choice. As we carefully come down the stairs, Wiggins simply says he protests too much to be clean. So, hello, here we are back with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective in real time. One day has passed. I stepped away from the game last night. In game time, no time has passed. We have found out a couple of things. Number one, well, first of all, to recap, and since you're viewing this as one video, I'll keep this short. We have been asked to investigate by Mr. Goldfire an attempt on his life. He said that 2 days ago on the 10th, he came to us on the 12th, somebody had tried to shoot him outside his club, which would have been the 10th of September. We didn't start our investigation until the 13th of September, and on the 13th of September we also attended Professor Benedict's presentation at King's College, where he told us that he would have expected Goldfire to attend, but Goldfire didn't. We find out later that Goldfire at this stage is already dead. Now, a couple of things are weird about this. First of all, Goldfire told us that somebody had tried to shoot him outside his Carlton Club on the 10th of September. Going to the Carlton Club yielded no information whatsoever. On the contrary, the person who's basically like the guy standing at the doorman says, well, he was there on the 10th and there was no shooting and he would know gunshots because he'd served in India. So someone's lying. Either Goldfire is lying or the guy outside the club is lying. In addition, Goldfire gave us the list of suspects because he believes one of his colleagues wants him dead. And we talked to all of those colleagues with the following problems. Number one, Sir Charles Hall is dead. He was hit with a blunt instrument, and in his fireplace we find the remnants of a cane which was given to Goldfire on his promotion. So that could be a false lead, but you know, if this were true, then Goldfire might have gone in there, whacked him over the head, burnt his murder weapon, not doing it really well, and then taken his own life, because we also find out that he is hanging from a butcher's hook in the larder in the Bethlehem Asylum. We went to see Dr. Henry Gray, Dr. Gibilsko and Dr. Praetorius, and they all say that they are not friends with him, but that they have kind of like a professional relationship with him, so it doesn't really seem they would really have tried to kill him. But they all agree, and Professor Benedict agrees as well, that what Goldfire told us when he met us, that he had found this way of asking questions that will detect if somebody's going to be a murderer or not, is total nonsense, that this would go against everything that Goldfire believes, because they all agree that Goldfire doesn't go in for psychoanalysis and that he believes that every psychological problem has a physical cause. We also learned, and they could all be lying, but I find that hard to believe. We also learned from Benedict that Goldfire was supposed to meet him and didn't show, which was very uncharacteristic. So he's not as reliable as he used to be. He suddenly tells people of a theory which everyone thinks cannot be his theory because it's not what he believes. And Watson told us that when he knew him at university, he was so aloof and so arrogant that he wouldn't even remember Watson's name but called him Wharton. And the fact that he actually remembers his name, uses his name in his interaction with Watson, and is actually almost cordial, was very out of character. In addition, we found out that in Goldfire's house, in the attic, there seems to be something like a prison from which somebody may have escaped. It's unclear. So I'm wondering if we're seeing something like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that either Goldfire has a twin, or that Goldfire is taking some form of drugs. And of course, lastly, also, we showed this list of names to Benedict, and Benedict says it's not even his handwriting. In addition, we have Bobby Field, who was found. He's a small-time criminal. He's a jewelry thief, and he was found dead in the Thames. And we went and visited his associate, who basically says he doesn't know anything. I looked at the newspaper again, and here I read, theft at Pimlico. The police report the burglary. We know that Bobby is a burglar at the house of Thurston Robles, which took place between Saturday afternoon and Monday morning. So Tuesday was the 13th. Monday would have been the 12th. Sunday the 11th. Saturday would have been the 10th. So sometime between the 10th and the 12th, the burglary happened. The family was visiting the parents of Mrs. Robles in Ipswich for the weekend. The household staff were consequently off on Saturday night, and in addition to their usual day off on Sunday. Upon their return on Monday, the Robles family discovered that many pieces of jewellery had disappeared from Mrs. Robles' night table, as well as many silver plates from the buffet. The police are investigating, but have no suspect at the moment. Anyone with any information is asked to head to the nearest police station. Now, we know that Bobby Field was found dead on Monday, shortly after dawn, in the dark waters of the Thames. Now, it's my belief that he is the burglar. So I think what we should do is we should go to the Robles family in Pimlico and investigate the crime scene there. So let's see where they are. Robles, Thurston, 75 Southwest. So that's the Robles family home. .75 Southwest. We're not from the police, we work for Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is interested in our burglary? What good news! We're in the boudoir of the Robles house, talking to Mrs. Amanda Robles, the woman of the house. She's an energetic woman with auburn hair and hazelnut eyes. So essentially she looks like Agent Scully. I'm totally open to helping you. What would you like to know? We only know what was said in the papers, says Wiggins. Could you tell us more about the missing items? Then, if it's not too much to ask, could we talk to the household staff? Of course. However, as I've told the police, we're sure that the people in our employ have had nothing to do with that. They've been with us for so long. There were very few stolen goods, 3 pieces of jewellery from my nightstand. A ruby, gold and diamond one is the most expensive of the 3. My husband had given it to me less than a year ago. There was also a brooch, worth very little, but it was a gift from my parents for my 16th birthday, and I'm very sad that it's disappeared. The 3rd piece is a gold pendant inset with little gems. In addition to the stolen jewellery, 2 small silver platters were taken. Luckily, I had taken much of my jewellery with me on our trip to Ipswich. Do the police have any idea as to who is behind the crime and how they got in? They didn't really share their theories with us, but it seems they believe it was the work of a lone thief, as few things were stolen, and that he came in through a window on the ground floor at the back of the house. The work of a professional, according to the police, but I don't think they have any leads as to his identity. I must admit that the idea of a man breaking into our house in our absence is very disturbing, even if I feel lucky that so few things have gone missing. Mrs. Robles has remained calm throughout our interview, but her voice breaks with the last answer and she looks away. After a few moments, she resumes. You were asking about the household staff, she says as she leads us out to the boudoir. There are only 2 you'll need to question. Margaret, our cook, doesn't live here and was absent the entire weekend. This is Hoskins, our butler. Hoskins, these gentlemen are associates of Sherlock Holmes and are investigating the robbery. I've assured them you would give them your full cooperation. Mr. Wiggins, I entrust you to Hoskins' care. He'll bring in Emily when you want to talk with her. Good day. Thank you for your help, Mrs. Robles. We'll do all we can to make sure you recover what belongs to you. You recover what belongs to you. Mr. Wiggins, I suppose you'll want to know my schedule between the departure of Mr. and Mrs. Robles on Saturday and the discovery of the theft on Monday morning. Hoskins, in his well-groomed 50s, is a small man of average height and at first glance a perfect incarnation of the British butler. Without waiting for a reply from Wiggins, he begins to give a detailed description of the 48 hours in question. It's all my fault. I should have at least discovered the problem sooner. I've been neglectful in my daily routine. Lazy. Normally I check all doors and windows before leaving. I didn't do so on Sunday night. I also should be checking the silverware, but as it hadn't been used, I didn't do so, to my great regret. So which means we don't really know when it happened. I suppose you followed your routine Saturday night, and thus the burglary only happened on Sunday. Totally, sir. Emily and I were present from 7. It would be disconcerting to think that this man had come into the house during the night in which we were both sleeping, but it's a possibility. He shakes his head. Ah, Emily, he says, seeing a young woman of 18 years of age appear on the stairs. These gentlemen have a few questions for you. I can tell you what I know, which is not much. Saturday night, I was with my uncle and my aunt in Bermondsey, and I only came back on Sunday early in the evening. I've been over all I remember, but I can't think of anything that was out of the ordinary. Sorry, gentlemen. Okay. So it's absolutely unclear if the 2 things are related. It seems that Goldfire died of his own hand. There won't be an autopsy in the game because simply, it's going to happen the next day. So that's not part of the storyline. So we won't be able to see it. And he says he couldn't face life and the public after what he'd done. Now the question is, do I believe that he was being attacked? I don't, because I just can't believe that somebody would fire shots outside a club and nobody would notify the police. And there's nothing in the papers that I've seen there's nothing that I have seen in the papers that would indicate that shots were fired. And So it should have been in the papers. Somebody should have gone to the police if there were shots fired in the open. And also, why would everyone lie? I believe that Goldfire lied. I don't think that somebody made an attempt on his life. Why did he come to us? I assume that he wanted us to investigate these people and possibly find the dead body, because he was, well, I mean, I'm honestly telling you, I find this a really, really weird thing, because there is no real case. We have no evidence that shots were fired. We have somebody who apparently took his own life, who has behaved very, very strangely, according to his colleagues, by, you know, saying things that he never believed before. And he's died through his own hand, by his own hand, and we have a murder victim who was probably killed by him, and we have got somebody who probably burgled the Robles family home in Pimlico, and I can't see any associations. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to make an idea roll. I'm going to visit Sherlock Holmes, which you can do to get yourself some help. What, Wiggins, are you already out of ideas? Appearances can be deceiving. I thought you were a capable detective, but you're just a pale copy, Holmes tells us with a sarcastic smile. I suppose you've investigated the names given by that good Dr. Goldfire, starting with his close colleagues at Bethlehem. If that's the case, I think you should then pay closer attention to the doctor's past, maybe even that of his parents and his immediate family. So how do you do this? His past. How do you do this? We went to his house. We saw pictures, but there was no indication where to go next. That's weird. His parents. Well, we could, of course, go to all of our contacts. Let's go to Sir Jasper Meeks and let's see if he's got anything to say. The only body, oh well, that was, yeah, we already were there. Well, we can try. Edward Hall, maybe there is something in his past, maybe there is a will that we could look at, 36 EC. You never know. I've never heard of a case concerning the Taubman Goldfires, Edward Hall tells us. As for Bobby Field, he's a notorious recidivist, not very clever, and who has passed through these halls more than once. He spent a lot of time in Millbank prison. We were there. He got out recently, I think. As this is not his first crime, he must have left his address with the criminal archives. Somerset House, 17 WC. And this is where this game kind of deteriorates, and actually, you know, you could even start reading just every single entry. We find Wiggins in the vestibule of Somerset House. He's leaning back on one of the columns which hold the vaulted ceiling, leafing through the pages of his notebook. The sound of our footsteps causes him to look up. I hope you found information useful to solving this case. I've discovered something useful while checking out the birth certificates. George Taubman Goldfire has a twin brother. Here we are. Didn't I say twins? A twin? Yes, born on March 20th, 1854. Wiggins reads in his notepad, from Agnes Goldfire, born Agnes Engels, and of Walter Goldfire, both dead. The mother died very young, accidental death. Okay, from a heart attack in 1889. The wedding certificate indicates that Agnes Engels and Walter Goldfire were married in 1852. Okay, let's check out the Engels then. So he does have a twin brother. Engels. There are two. '47 EC. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Agnes Engels isn't related to me and I've never met her. Okay, then the other Engels is 50 SE. Wallace Engels greets us in his living room and chats with us while waiting for tea. A servant serves us and leaves us comfortably settled in with our host. Wallace Engels, Agnes Goldfire's younger brother, freshly arrived into his 60s, seems inclined to talk about his late sister and her husband. Walter was one of the most gifted politicians of his time. He would have certainly become Prime Minister had he continued on his way, and Agnes was a good person, the ideal companion for Walter in his political ascension. The family always had doubts on the subject of Agnes' death. Mr. Engels' voice became soft and filled with sadness. Her death seemed troubling and premature to all of us. Troubling? It's not that uncommon when somebody dies young in an unexplained way. Of course, however, in the case of Agnes' death, it was different. Sure, Dr. Hall concluded it was an accident. But there was a dark point which never was cleared up. Why did Walter abandon his career, move to the countryside with the children, fire their tutor? The children never managed to adapt. Engels shakes his head. In any case, I never saw them again after my sister's death. Can you tell us more about the children and their tutor? That could help us greatly. You must forgive an old man's failing memory. I haven't thought about them in a long time. The children seem to appreciate the young man. He stayed with them 2 or 3 years longer than any other tutor. Do you remember the name? Attard or Arpchad? I'm not sure anymore, but I know that after he was let go, he opened a bookshop. Are there bookshops? There are 4. Attard Charles, 12 WC. No Arpchad, so we're going to go to 12 WC next. One last thing, Mr. Engels. When did you see Dr. Goldfire for the last time? At Walter's funeral. Good gracious, that must be over 10 years ago. I've sometimes seen his name in the papers, but never tried to renew the relationship. I don't know what happened to William on his father's death. Okay, let's see what Mr. Attard has to say for himself. Nothing. Then let's check the bookshops. Hatchards. '63 NW. Yeah. Yes, I'm Johann Hatchard. How can I be of use to you? Asks us a man of about 55 years, standing bolt upright, blue eyes slightly enlarged by the round lenses of his glasses with twisted frames. Were you the tutor of the Goldfire family? Mein Gott, that was a long time ago. What could you tell us about that family and about the death of Mrs. Goldfire? Excuse me, I need to sit down. Hatchard seems troubled. I don't understand what you expect of me. Dr. Goldfire has requested the help of Sherlock Holmes, and we're associates of the latter. Wiggins hopes that this answer will be enough. George was a good boy. He shakes his head. But William, the death of their mother, you say? You're still investigating after all these years? I've always had my suspicion, of course. Anything you could tell us would be valuable. I'll never forget that morning. William had been throwing one of his raging tantrums. I could hear him shouting and arguing with his mother. Then there was a cry, and I ran from the reading room to see that poor woman's broken body at the foot of the stairs, and at the top William, who was looking at his mother's body, smiling. I spoke to Sir Walter and let him know of my suspicions. He promised me that he'd take them into account, but the next day he announced that the family were leaving for the countryside and that they would no longer need my services. He was very generous, of course. He gave me enough to purchase this store, but I've always felt that as though he was buying my loyalty, my silence. This is the first time I've spoken about it to anyone. Okay, so it seems that William Goldfire killed his mother. So, William Goldfire has taken on his brother's identity, has killed Dr. Hall, who used to be his doctor. I'm not sure what this has to do with the break-in, though. What we're going to do is we're going to turn to the solution now. Let's see. First series. Who's the dead body in the cold room? I would say it is G. Taubman Goldfire. He was killed by his brother, William Goldfire. Why was he killed? I have no idea, because because William tried to impersonate him. Where is the killer hiding? In the attic at home. Who was a witness to the death of Agnes Goldfire? I would say G. Taubman Goldfire. Who killed Sir Charles Hall? William Goldfire. Why was Dr. Hall killed in revenge? Who killed Bobby Field? I don't know. And why was Bobby Field killed? I don't know. Let's see. Goldfire, I thought you were dead, cries Watson as he sees the emaciated silhouette preceding Holmes into the living room of 221B Baker Street. The man answers with a chuckle which interrupts Watson before he can say anything else. Holmes hangs his coat and his hat, then walks to the fireplace to warm himself up. Sit down, he orders Goldfire. Untie me, demands Goldfire. I'll leave the police. What's happening? One of the oldest stories, my friend. Cain and Abel of the modern times, the brother killing the brother. This is William Taubman Goldfire, the twin brother of your friend, George Taubman Goldfire. Yeah. yesterday, William himself came here passing himself off as his brother, your friend George. Yeah. And you didn't catch on, blah, blah, blah. William and George are twins, Watson, but their resemblance is only superficial, as they are as different internally as Jekyll and Hyde. Didn't I say Jekyll and Hyde? William is a maniacal killer since his childhood, and George a renowned healer who has become a doctor while hoping to heal his brother. Yeah, so we went to Wallace Engels. And he jumps out the window. Okay. So let's look at the score. George Taubman Goldfire gives us 20 points. He's the killer. He's the dead body. William Goldfire is the killer. Why was he killed? For bitterness and for revenge. Well, you know, yeah, well, I'm not sure. He basically impersonated him. I'm going to give myself points for this. Where's the killer hiding? At Mrs. Warren's flop house. Well, we didn't get this. Who was a witness to the death of Agnes Goldfire? Johann Hatchard saw William right after he had pushed his... Well, no, he's not a witness to the death, because otherwise he would have been there. Who killed Sir Charles Hall? Yeah, William Goldfire again. Yeah, because he took revenge, because he basically diagnosed him. Who killed Bobby Field? Maud Bellamy. That's good, so we don't know about this. Well, I think we didn't do so badly. I think I caught onto this twin brother Jekyll Hyde thing very, very early, so I'm actually quite pleased. Yeah, so that was Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective, The Thames, no, what is it called? Jack the Ripper and Western Adventures, number 5, Dr. Goldfire. And that is number 6 in our 12 Games of Christmas. Bye!